Free agency in 2024 is going to be a major story, and it's all starting right now with Will Ospreay. Not only is Will Ospreay in the news, you know who, everybody's favorite, CM Punk is in the news, and Impact could be making a splash when they change over to TNA with their Hard to Kill pay-per-view in 2024. Is CM Punk and Will Ospreay headed to Impact Wrestling? This is coming from Sean Ross Sapp of FightfulSelect.com, and it seemed as if a lot of people thought that there was a possibility that Punk was going to show up on Saturday night for their Bound for Glory pay-per-view. Obviously, that did not happen. He was in the area. He was a special guest of the Chicago Blackhawks. He was at the game, and Cicero Stadium, the venue that Bound for Glory was held in, was not too far off from where the Blackhawks were playing on Saturday night. Now, Fightful is reporting that recently, while it was clearly a long shot, Impact Wrestling and those associated with it were open to Punk coming into the company. Now, obviously, that's the case. I don't know why they wouldn't want CM Punk in the company. Obviously, his dealings backstage are a problem, but I think anybody right now, especially in Impact, would be happy to have CM Punk. Punk appeared backstage months ago and made a very good impression on many there and got along with a number of people on the roster, seemingly enjoying his time backstage. House of Wrestling reported Punk was backstage at Sunday's Impact tapings and was seen as very helpful. Ace Steel was brought into the company to work as a producer, which many saw as a sign that the company wanted to get Punk into Impact. However, Impact had been interested in Steel when he was let go from AEW the first go-around when Punk wasn't available. A few weeks ago, those close to Punk claimed that they didn't think he'd want to join the company, but also said that he woke up one day and just decided that he wanted to wrestle Josh Alexander or Alex Shelley, he'll likely do that if he wanted to, and he could if he wanted to. With another person in touch with Punk saying he would, under the right circumstances, absolutely do that. Now, a big hurdle on the surface and the outside looking in would be the salary, as Punk in AEW is annually making about 15 to 20 times more than what a lot of the top Impact wrestlers are making. Now, speaking of TNA wrestling and money, Will Ospreay, who apparently had a Match of the Year candidate with Speedball Mike Bailey at Bound for Glory. I have yet to watch that, but it's no surprise that Mike Bailey and Will Ospreay put on a banger. Will Ospreay had a very positive experience in Chicago this weekend at Impact Wrestling and noted that he wanted to come back before his New Japan deal was up in February. Fightful's told by several that Ospreay's next contract will likely be heavily financially motivated, as it should, and he has realized this will be the most important deal of his career. Earlier this year, he'd been keen on staying with New Japan Pro Wrestling, but since he is, becoming a free agent in February, something's kind of clicked in Ospreay where he's opened up his options. He's even hired Barry Bloom this year, back in the spring, and AEW and WWE were very aware of that acquisition by the summertime. WWE is very interested in Will Ospreay. AEW is interested in Will Ospreay. Dave Meltzer mentions this in The Observer, and I quote, "He made more comments as far as his future. I know some stuff," says Dave Meltzer. "I know WWE is absolutely after him, and he is going to listen to WWE, absolutely. There's a lot of different things. He's going now for the best offer. He's got a family. He's got Barry Bloom representing him, who, by the way, represents Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, and guys of that nature. And they have gotten mega deals under Barry Bloom. Kenny Omega as well. WWE is very, very interested in him. Everyone is, and they should be. It will be interesting to see who gets him." Will Ospreay spoke with Metro.co.uk about his future in the wrestling business, and he acknowledged that he's never had the machine behind him as he's had to gamble on himself and is open to making the jump to WWE. He says, and I quote, "Although we've spent so much money on our new kitchen, we are open to the idea of relocating to the United States. It's on the table. That's all I can really say. That means I'm open to all options going forward." Ospreay also noted that a potential match with Seth Rollins, something that both stars have expressed great interest in, does intrigue him to consider jumping to WWE. He says this in regards to Rollins: "But now it's time for me to really gauge and see what's out there. So the Seth thing does intrigue me a lot. I heard him say in a promo, his 100% is the best in the world. While I can sit there and comfortably say I am one of the top wrestlers in the world right now, there is other things to learn. Do I have an ego about this stuff? Of course I do. Look at the catalog and look at what I've delivered," says Will Ospreay, end quote. That's a lot. That's a lot. Let me start with Punk. Punk in Impact, I'm not going to write it off. I'm not going to write it off because if there's one thing that I know about CM Punk and what I gauge from everything that we've seen with CM Punk, the dealings in AEW, the fact that he came back after 7 years and things started off great and then they just gradually got worse and worse. Problems happened. He ended up getting fired. You guys know the ins and outs. All Out, Brawl Out. Then you got All In with Jack Perry and Adam Page and Jon Moxley and all these other things with CM Punk. I genuinely believe CM Punk loves pro wrestling. That's the way that I see it. Does CM Punk love pro wrestling? Yes. Does CM Punk hate the pro wrestling business and everything that comes along with it? Yes. I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility for Punk to want to work Impact. Are they going to be able to afford CM Punk to be the face of the company for years to come? No. That will not happen. But if Punk wants to wrestle Josh Alexander, if Punk wants to wrestle Alex Shelley, if Punk wants to wrestle anybody in Impact Wrestling, he's going to go out there and do it. Because if he wants to do something and he tells Scott D'Amore that he wants to do it, they are going to say, fuck yeah. Of course, come on in. Welcome him with open arms. But it's not going to be a long-term deal. Now, I said on yesterday's video that the only way that I would watch Impact Wrestling is if they went out and got CM Punk and someone like Will Ospreay to be the 1 and 2 of their company. I feel like Impact has really done nothing to change, and I'm not really all that excited like other people are. I know that the TNA, logo and what that company means a lot to people. I'm not writing it off. I don't really find it to be my cup of tea. Okay, I never ingrained myself in TNA. I was always a WWE guy. I never really ventured out. I heard things and rumblings about TNA, but I never really fully invested myself in the product. So, it's coming from someone that has not ingrained himself in the rich history of TNA. But I do think over what I've seen, over the years of what I've seen, they've done little to change anything. They're not going back to the 6-sided ring, which has been cited as, risky for the talent's health, and the production value of Impact TNA is not really all that good in my honest opinion. Now, Bound for Glory apparently to some people was a great show, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that Punk could have showed up there. He showed up at the Impact tapings. He could be with the company, but no matter what they put on and have a great show with, it's not enough. It's not really, I could get great pro wrestling anyway. I mean, we get great pro wrestling in WWE. We get great pro wrestling in AEW. What are they doing? What are they doing to generate interest to get me to watch? Do they have anybody there that I'm going to go out of my way on a Thursday night to watch more pro wrestling? That's the problem. That's what I'm trying to really relay to everybody. What are they doing? They're not really doing much of anything. They're on the road. They're taking the show on the road. And I wanted to mention this yesterday. I didn't really mention it. I'm going to mention it here today. Access TV. How many of you even get Access TV? Billy Corgan just signed with the CW. He's bringing NWA to CW, a top 20 TV network here in the United States. If Billy Corgan can get NWA on a top 20 network. Why can't Scott D'Amore and Access TV get that for Impact? You would think that if it was such a great product, they're better than the NWA at this point, right? So if they're so great, why are they not taking the chances and going out there and shopping the show around if it's so fucking great? Everybody would want to watch it at that point, right? So what I'm trying to say is, even though it may be a very solid show, you're going to have to go out and get a CM Punk and a Will Ospreay and spend money for someone like me to go out there and watch your program. That's what it's going to take. How are you going to generate interest with the casual viewer? Is Punk going to go to Impact? Sure. He could do that if he wants. Is Will Ospreay going to go to Impact? Sure. If he wants to wrestle. But I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm going to be real with you, what is there in Impact for Will Ospreay to go out there and want to do? Wrestle Josh Alexander? Josh Alexander's fucking amazing. Wrestle Alex Shelley? What is Will Ospreay going to do with Alex Shelley? As soon as you blow through those matches, what is there left for Will Ospreay to do? You know, all the injuries and all the moments that Will Ospreay's had already, the injuries that have mounted up in the fucking way that he breaks his body down. How old is Will Ospreay? How long do you think that Will Ospreay is going to be around, operating under the style that he's working? How long do you think he's going to be around? He's going to want to go to Impact? But the way he's broken his body down, he wants to be paid. The fact that he hired Barry Bloom is already out of the league for Impact. He hired Barry Bloom. Do you know what that says to me? I want to be fucking paid. And that's why people hire Barry Bloom, because they want to be paid. He will be paid by WWE. He will be paid by Tony Khan and AEW. It's going to be one of those two promotions. Impact should absolutely make a play, and Will Ospreay has nothing bad to say about Impact, but it's all going to come down to money. And then after that, it's all going to come down to creative. These two things will be at the focus of why Will Ospreay signs with the company. Money first, creative second. What is he going to do in Impact that he can't do in WWE and in AEW? Do you know where I think Will Ospreay will fit best? WWE. That's where I think he'll fit best. I don't even think going to AEW is going to satisfy Will Ospreay, even though it's more his style, even though it's a little familiar compared to where he came from or is right now with New Japan. I honestly think he'll run out of things to do in AEW as well. What are you going to do with Will Ospreay? You're going to have him come on in and do what? A lot of people made Jay White a focus of their intention. Oh, Jay White should have immediately jumped into AEW and become a world champion. I mean, Will Ospreay right now, he's the talk of the town. He's probably the best pro wrestler in the entire fucking world right now, which is amazing when you got Bryan Danielson operating at the level he's at. I honestly do think that with Triple H now firmly in charge and leadership now changing in WWE, that they are going to pick and choose who they want to bring in. They're not going to bring in everybody like Tony Khan brings in everybody for AEW. They're going to pick and choose who they want. WWE is absolutely, Triple H has had his eye on Will Ospreay for years. And now is the time that Will Ospreay wants to be paid. Now is the time that Triple H is in charge of creative. Now is the time where the stars have aligned and Will Ospreay in WWE could become a realistic possibility. WWE's not going to let him go. They will offer him whatever the fuck he wants. Not only because they have already wanted him, Tony Khan wants him too, but the reason why WWE is going to offer Will Ospreay whatever he wants is because they also want to keep him out of AEW. And if you don't think that's a reason why WWE wants Will Ospreay, you're a fool. Will Ospreay is going to WWE or AEW. My opinion, he fits best in WWE. WrestleMania, he wants that. His talents need to be at that stage. I'm sorry. AEW would be a great landing spot for him. But with the caliber of athlete that Will Ospreay is, he needs to be on a WWE level. I don't know how long he's going to be able to do this much longer. With his age and the body that he's probably working with, how long do you think he's got? He's going to want to get the most out of what he can possibly give right now and then call it a career. That is going to be cash, creative, and everything that comes along with the level of superstar that he is. That is something that WWE is going to provide, and that is something that AEW simply cannot. Impact is a great option. But Impact, honestly, at the end of the day, they want to pretend like they're big players. They want to pretend like they have their rich history, and they do have a rich history. I'm not saying that they don't. But it's not the playground for levels of superstar like Will Ospreay and CM Punk. Those stages are for WWE and second, AEW. Impact thinks they're big, but at the end of the day, do they have the resources to bring those names in? Maybe, but for long-term, no. Do they have the creative to keep them happy? Sure. They're rocking and rolling right now. But at the end of the day, that well is going to run very dry, a lot quicker than it would in AEW and WWE. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of the situation. Will Ospreay, I feel, is going to WWE. Punk, I don't know where he goes. If he ends up in Impact, listen, I'll even tune in. Because Collision, it hasn't felt the same without Punk. I mean, it's just a shell of itself without CM Punk. And I'm being brutally honest with you. That's what he does. That's what he brings to the table. Collision has not been the same. And the interest in what I do, the interest in the show, the way the show feels, a lot of people are feeling that way as well. Punk in Impact, it's a possibility. Will Ospreay in Impact, it's a possibility. The Mega Powers join forces, possibly. But I don't think at the end of the day it's going to happen. I do think that WWE and AEW will win out for Will Ospreay. More so WWE in my opinion. And I do think that Punk, if he wants to wrestle somewhere, it's going to be in WWE. But again, it all comes down to the politics. Like I said before, I think Punk loves pro wrestling. I think he loves wrestling. I think he loves everything about wrestling, not the business side. And he's going to have to sleep with that at night. Does he go to WWE and go back on his laurels and his beliefs to take the paycheck and go back to the biggest stage of them all? That's something he's going to have to live with. So maybe Impact and AEW potentially. I don't think AEW is an option, but you never know. Maybe Impact may be the best option for him if he wants to remain happy and do what he loves to do, and that is wrestle. It's going to be a very interesting situation to follow. Will Ospreay is making waves in the news, and whoever gets him is going to land one of the best of all time and possibly the best pro wrestler right now in the entire world. Very interested to see what happens with that. So that is in the news here today. And one other thing, guys, a quick news and note on Brock Lesnar. We got Crown Jewel coming up. That is happening on November 4th, Saturday. WWE has a loaded, star-studded show. Logan Paul is going to be there. Roman Reigns is going to be there. John Cena potentially may be there. Roman Reigns and LA Knight is already in the books. Logan Paul and Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. They have a star-studded show. Cody Rhodes and Damian Priest was just announced on Monday Night Raw. But what about Brock Lesnar? Is Brock Lesnar going to show up for Crown Jewel? According to PW Insider Elite, Lesnar is not slated to work the Crown Jewel show due to WWE feeling that the show is jam-packed already with enough attraction-type matches thanks to the appearances of Logan Paul, John Cena, LA Knight, and Roman Reigns. Thus, they felt it was best to save Lesnar for a future show in the market. Good. I think that's a great move. Somebody in WWE is thinking logically. Instead of running through a Brock Lesnar match and taking that off the table for Saudi Arabia with no build, WWE is using what they got right now, using the current television to take them into Crown Jewel with John Cena being back, is the cherry on top of the cake. Instead of using Lesnar for a one-off match and blowing through the very short list of opponents still worthy of a Brock Lesnar match, they're saving it for next year. I like it. Logical, man. That is great. Awesome stuff there, and Lesnar will not be at the show. Why should he be, and why should WWE blow through a match for absolutely no reason? Because it's Saudi Arabia, when they got Cody, Logan Paul, John Cena, LA Knight, and Roman Reigns. More than enough to take away from Brock Lesnar not being booked for the show. Guys, thank you so very much for all your support today, right here on OTS. Tonight, I will be live with Andrew Baydala for TNT Tuesday Night Titans. Make sure you guys tune into that, 8:30 p.m. Eastern tonight on the channel. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. and go check out all the other content on the channel. There is plenty of it for you if you missed anything from OTS. Guys, enjoy your Tuesdays. I'll see you live with Andrew Baydala tonight on TNT. I'll talk to you guys later.